Welcome to the Fempire podcast for women building empires where your health, relationships, and wealth rise together. Here we focus on what moves the needle the most. I am your host, Jessica Joy. Let's sharpen the axe and dive in. Welcome. Today we have a special guest. This is Jessica Falcon. She is an international soul embodiment guide and relationship coach. She is also a podcast host, but her podcast is Soul Sovereignty, which she'll be talking about. She's also a writer, and she has a gift with connecting people to the truth of their soul through their body and how this allows people to not only embody their true power, but reclaim their sovereignty, which enhances and even revolutionizes their relationships and all types of relationships, whether that's in intimate relationships, familial or professional. So Jessica, welcome. So happy you're here.
It's an honor. I'm excited to dive into a deep conversation with you.
Yes, I can't wait to talk about relationships, sovereignty, all of it. Before we get too deep, let's start at the top. So we talked more about what you do, but tell us more, what you do and how did this unfold? How did you get into the work, your life's work?
Well, like we were talking about a little bit pre-show, I used to be an attorney and criminal prosecutor. I did that for about 7 years. And it's not that dissimilar in the sense that I went to law school in order to be heard as a woman. It felt like having that law degree would enable people to hear me. And unfortunately, it's true. And I wanted to do women's rights. What I didn't understand was that I would eventually be so disheartened with the system that my soul called me on a deeper initiation into true soul healing. And when I was in the midst of that initiation, which we could talk about later if we want to in more detail, but during that initiation, I started to identify really deeply embedded subconscious beliefs that exist within the collective, not just the individual, but in the collective psyche that affect our relationships, our sexuality, including our relationship with ourselves and our own divinity, which we've been denied access to, quite frankly, and told that we're anything but that good. And so I started writing, and then my coaching and retreats and programs really came out of that research and self-study of maybe 10, 15 years. Yeah.
It was a reconnection to the self. I love what you talked about, the collective consciousness or collective limiting beliefs, you could say. Oh, geez, how do we start here? First, I want to get your take on sovereignty. That's something that we talked about. You said that sovereignty is something you see being misunderstood. And tell us more. What do you think is misunderstood about it? And what do you think is the truth of it?
Well, historically, we've associated sovereignty with a nation, right? A nation is sovereign. And to be sovereign means the nation rules itself. And so in some ways, it's similar in that to be sovereign is to rule over oneself, to be your own authority. Think about the word sov-ren. It's R-E-I-G-N, to reign over self. And in ancient times, Isis, the goddess in ancient Egypt, was known as the sovereign queen. She represented sovereignty. And what it really means from an ancient perspective is to sit on one's own throne. Now, I take that a little further and say that sovereignty is to sit on the throne of one's own divinity. And in order to do that, it is that process of accessing what is one's soul truth through the body, which we could talk about how and why we do that, and then releasing what's not our truth, which includes these deeply embedded subconscious beliefs that keep us patterns of stuck, fear, shame, guilt, unworthiness, powerlessness, right? The list goes on.
Thank you. Okay. So let's talk about tapping into this because I'm all about breaking patterns. We're all running so many subconscious patterns. So taking a moment to pause, but what are some of the ways you help people connect to this part of themselves and distinguish, okay, what is truly me versus what I've been taught or, heard over and over on repeat?
Yeah. We cannot know the self and know what is our truth if we're not spending time with the self, which is why self-knowledge has been so forbidden. We have this idea that it's selfish to have a self, and that's part of the programming to keep us from our true power. when we know the self, what that means is we know the true self. So it does take time. It's a journey. That's why someone like myself is helpful, or someone like you is a guide, because we help people see what they can't yet see. And we help them distinguish between what is my ego, what is my truth, what is not, what is just so familiar that I think it's my truth and I identify with it and I can't let go of it, but it's actually not serving me, right? We know that very well. And it's a journey of self-discovery. It's not about becoming better, changing, being different, fixing oneself, as you know. It's really about tuning into the body, to the heart, attuning to higher frequencies that allow one's truth to reveal. Because if we're stuck in lower frequencies and we're not doing energetic work, then we're only healing a small portion of our being, because we are energetic beings at our root. And that's one of the reasons I always include energy work, because everything is energy. A thought has energy, a belief is energy, an emotion is energy. We have to work with the body as energy. And as we do that and we increase our frequency, we spend time in these, I would say, powerful centers of our body: the womb, the heart, the core, our third eye, our crown, our root. All of these, you could call them chakras, but what they really are power centers, wisdom centers, where we can start to move the energy within and then filter and align to what is the truth. And that's such an individual, unique process. It's hard to describe exactly how we do that. But one way is this serving me? Is this what I want to be believing? Is this what I want to be feeling? And if not, what is my truth? What would serve me? What feels more aligned with divine love?
I love powerful guiding questions. Is this serving me? What would serve me? I love tapping into, like you called it, the power centers. And they are different, whether it's, I've had some moments connecting to the first time my womb. I asked my coach, what do you mean by womb? So we won't go into that, into the podcast too much. But I do believe in certain power centers that it's like, oh, in my heart or in my gut or in this like part of like you said, the third eye. Innately, there's so much wisdom within. And I think, a mission of the podcast is that health, wealth, and relationships are rising up together for women. And it's not so much the external, like, oh, we're checking the boxes of what we need to do to be successful in these things. I think so much of it, the root is tuning into like you first, and all the people we've talked to, it always comes down to starting within. So you talk a lot about using the body to access some of this wisdom. You're in your zone of genius, so I'm just going to keep it a bit open-ended. But if somebody wanted to access some more of these power centers or connecting to their body, tell us more. Like, how do we go about this? It's kind of a big question, but, what are some things that you see really helping people connect to this part of themselves and amplifying it?
Yeah, I teach a lot about what I call sacred body wisdom, because it is a journey of rediscovering how do we relate with the body, not as an object, not as a physical thing, but as energy. And part of that is simply recognizing there's energy that I can access in my body, that my body is not purely physical. And when we learn how to, and I teach people this and have practices around this, we learn how to direct that mind's eye, the third eye, into the body to connect to the energy within, between the contours of the skin. And then also connect with the energy around in your energetic field, which can be quite expansive, but really tuning it in to the deeper aspects of self and then spending time there. You have to create that time and space to listen, to just be. And that's why connecting with the body is a very receptive process. It's not about doing. You are not demanding. This is where people go, I don't want to say wrong, but have a hard time because they're like, well, I want to experience something. I want a result from that 15, 20 minutes. I want to, right? It's not about extracting. We have been in millennia of extracting from the earth, of extracting from the body, extracting sexuality. That's the wounding. So in order to heal the wounding and come into a new way of relating, we have to actually lean into just connection being enough. Connection being enough. And when we're in that connection with this energy of your sacred body, which is the energy of your soul, because your soul is your divinity. I like to see the soul as the individuated aspect of the divine that is you. And it has chosen and inhabits this form that allows you to experience physicality. But you can still access that energy of your soul through your body and spend time with it and hear it and listen and receive it, which is why the biggest key to going into the body is the heart. Because if your heart is not open to receive what resides within you, guess what? You're not going to receive it.
Thank you. It helps us focus our own energy into the experience. One, I feel like there were two gold nuggets that you just shared. One about, okay, the heart is the catalyst. Like if this is closed down, connecting to any of this, like not so much. And then the value in connection, not extraction. What do I get? I want the result. It's like it is the connection, is the joy, is the juice, that is enough. And man, even just the words of that, there's an energy to that. It's like, wow, what world is available within valuing connection so deeply? I'm curious, you use this to enhance relationships. So how does this start to impact relationships? Let's go down that route.
I first want to say it's probably obvious to the listener already hearing this, but if you go into a relationship with that same demand, what are you going to give me? What are you going to do for me? How are you going to meet my needs? Come on. Now, we're laughing, but the reality is it's quite common.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to meet a partner. Why? So I can feel connection. Really? Are you connected with yourself? Why are you searching for this externally when you're lacking it internally, when that's the real connection? Because you can't actually show up in relationship and be seen and be heard and be received in love if you're not doing that for yourself. You're going to end up in relationships where they don't see you or they don't hear you or you feel invisible and all of these woundings because your voice makes you visible. Most people aren't even using it, much less know their true voice, the deep voice, the soul voice, not the ego voice. They're two very different things. When I was a criminal prosecutor, I was an expert advocate. Everybody else, but intimate relationship, like I just could not get my voice out because to be seen was so scary. To speak my deep inner truth, my emotions was so frightening. I had the fears of rejection, right? The fears of abandonment, all of these fears that are so embedded in our nervous systems from millennia of this, of being denied access to our own divinity, which is part of the path of healing this, or the path, that we have to come back into union with these aspects of self with so much love and acceptance in that wholeness. And that wholeness brings us into relationships in which we are whole, in which the relationship is not based on these codependent patterns that create hooks and cords and karmic imprints. We're actually entering into relationship as a whole person with another whole person, which is the sacred symbol for sacred union. The Vesica Pisces, two whole circles that merge together halfway and create a third, which is the relationship. And within that, you're free. Within that, you are both seen rather than you have to be that and I have to be this and I have to hide that and you can't say that and you can't do that, but I have to. That creates so much struggle. And it's not necessary when we focus on ourselves and that healing.
Yes, exactly. It's so much of the work of, okay, like giving yourself what you need and love. So you're not coming to the relationship in lack or wound. Like, I'll even catch myself like, oh, I want to be understood so badly. I need you to understand me. And then ultimately I get to reflect back and have caught myself. Am I understanding myself?
Exactly.
Which is like, that's why I'm so intent about being understood right now because I'm not giving that to myself. But, whoo, man, the visual, I don't know the exact terminology, but that visual is so, a visual helps us integrate it, like use it. Am I coming whole? Am I in my heart and not, you could say, the ego? Ooh, I love this. Okay. So let's talk about the voice. So you talked about the two different voices, the ego voice and what you would say is like your truth. How would you help somebody distinguish the two and lead more from their truth?
One of the easiest ways is simply to notice where's the voice coming from.
Mm.
And by that, I mean, when you're starting to tune in, you pay attention to your insides, not just keep your focus all the way on the outside all the time. And you notice, oh, is this voice coming down from my head? Is it coming up from my heart? Or is it coming up from my body? Is it rising within me? Or even to ask yourself, is this my voice? Is it something I heard? Is it something my parents always said? Is it something my partner told me last week in response to this desire? Or is it mine? And just being in that inquiry, is this mine? And again, is this mine? If not, what is mine? What is my voice? What is my true inner voice telling me? Well, I have to spend time with it to find out. I have to
Mm-hmm.
ask, because part of that relationship with the body is, I tell my clients all the time, I have a temple of divine feminine power, and I'm constantly saying, okay, you have to just ask, be in conversation. Like you're talking to a friend, you're talking to a lover. Have these conversations with yourself. Okay, I think this is what you're telling me, but I'm not quite sure. Can you make it clearer for me?
I love that. Just talk to yourself like you're talking. Like it's a literal conversation. You made that
Literal
clearer.
conversation.
Never thought of
I'm
asking
not
that
quite sure I
myself.
got that.
It's so
Can you make it
good.
a little clearer for me? And it will. It
Yeah.
100% will. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that question. Okay, there it is. Thank you. Like I said, I love guiding questions because it helps us tune into us, get the clarity from within us. Okay. So here's a question for you. I aim to speak in conversations from with an open heart. And then sometimes you're in a conversation where you want the other person to do the same, but you can tell it's hard to request that. Can you speak to me with a more open heart? So I think a part of it is how you're showing up in the conversation and leading with your own energy. I think that's a big part of it. But what do you do about in relationship when you're wanting people to operate less from, ideally operate less from ego and more from the heart or different spaces? How do you use some of these tools in relationship?
I'm going to start with an answer that people might not like.
Good.
People speak from the heart when you do. And people speak from the heart when they feel safe with you. And if they don't feel safe with you, they won't. That's the deep answer. Yeah. They
Yeah,
have
starts with
to
that.
feel safe. Yeah. They have to feel like I'm going to be heard and not judged when I say this. They have to feel like I have space in which to talk and I'm not being interrupted or accused or blamed or that this person's just in their head calculating their next word, or all of these things that create a lack of safety to truly drop into one's heart and speak from it. Because people
Mhm.
want to, but they need to feel safe and that it's two-way.
That was worth the whole episode. I feel like this should be a paid masterclass. I mean, the empowering leadership guidance you gave there in a conversation. Okay. The intention is to make them feel safe, and lead with my own open heartedness. Beautiful.
That's what creates safety, the heart.
Mhm.
We overcomplicate things because the ego loves complicating things. It's so simple. You want to create nervous system healing? It's called
Yes.
heart. Biggest electromagnetic field of your body is the heart. Guess what heals the nervous system? Heart frequency. You want to create safety in your relationship with yourself? Guess what? It's the heart. Your heart's open to receive you. You want to create relationship safety with whether it be an intimate partner, or family member, colleague? Guess what? It's the heart, because the heart, that love, is what creates safety.
Thank you. I love uncomplicating things. Just, okay, where are we at? It's all right here. Thank you. So, what is something you want to get across? Maybe it's a challenge you see often that when you work with somebody on this thing, man, it helps them a lot. Or is there anything that you really want to share while we're here with the ladies listening?
I do want to mention briefly the womb, because for women in particular, the womb is how, and when I say womb, it's basically your pelvis. We're talking about an energetic womb, not the actual uterus. Men, women, everybody has a womb. It's an energetic womb. You're connecting to the energy of your lower chakras, essentially, your second and first chakra. That's your energetic womb. Okay. So the reason it's so important, particularly for women, is that we have been told not to have a self. We've been taught love is selfless. We have been taught to silence, to sacrifice, the list goes on. And the only way out is to anchor your heart back into yourself, down into your root, down into your womb, and to re-grid that connection, both on an emotional level, on an energetic level, on a belief level, because it has to be all three, that you're regridding, you're reconnecting. I like to say when I help people do that, we're reuniting heart and womb. We are reuniting. And
Mhm.
because that disconnection between heart and womb is what created the woundings in relationships and in sexuality.
Thank you. Yes, we needed to drop it deeper. Tell us more about how one would connect to their womb. Because some, like I remember, wasn't all that long ago, 2 years ago, this was a brand new concept. So strip it back, simplify. What is this? How do I connect to it? In a short
Yeah.
version, you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have a free womb meditation, which we'll talk about. But the very basics, because it's so simple, is you place your hands in an upside down V
Okay.
over your low belly and you breathe. You direct your awareness underneath your hands and you belly breath, right? So you might have to train yourself to do belly breath if you don't already do belly breath, but you just bring your breath underneath your hands. You let the belly rise and fall. And then eventually you let that space expand. You can move it just to the right. You can move it just to the left. You can move it to the low back. And then eventually you literally create energetic space through your whole pelvis. This also heals hip pain, not a coincidence. You bring that awareness, you bring that breath, you bring the intention to connect. That's how you connect to your womb.
So then from there, I remember my first experience. It was like this wisdom power center. Whoa! It was a knowing I hadn't tapped into quite as clearly until that moment. But how would you describe, like, what does the womb do? What are we looking for here? Ladies on the podcast are very like mind focused. And so dropping down into the body is so good and maybe unfamiliar.
And it's so good in part because it gets us out of the spirals of the mind. And because our soul truth does not come from the mind. So remind me of your question. I completely lost my train of thought.
Oh, good. How would you describe what we're tapping into when we
Thank
connect to
you.
the wound? Is it like a knowing? Is it because different centers will have kind of different focuses. Like, it's kind of weird to ask, like, what should we be hearing? What should we be connecting to? What is here for me? Yeah.
So the womb, it's hard to answer simply because the womb is such a portal to so many dimensions. But to keep it simple, again, we go in without any demands. So there really aren't should be's because
Yeah.
it's such a wellspring of life force energy. When we go into the womb, we're activating our life force energy, which is our radiance, which is our sexuality, which is our sensuality, which is our pleasure, which is our desire, which is our connection to the earth. It's earth energy. Earth energy is deeply connected to our womb space. And our inner needs, our inner feelings, our inner desires are all stored here. So are our deepest wounds. So sexual trauma, repressed anger, feelings of victimization, almost always, when not handled consciously at that moment, get pushed down into the womb space. And this is why it's helpful to either have a guide or the consciousness developed already that allows you to go into the body as a pure observer without any attachment, without any identification, without any judgment. If you can't do those three things and have that high level of observer consciousness, then it gets a little trickier to really allow that energy to move freely without any obstruction or just getting pushed back down, which is often what happens when we're identifying with something or we fear it. We're basically just pushing the energy back down and we're not actually healing it and being with it and bringing those parts of ourselves into wholeness.
Like observer and not getting in the weeds.
Huge.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you for clarifying that. This is glorious. So you brought a gift that I think is the perfect like next step for somebody who's, wanting to connect, value connection with themselves, see themselves as, I mean, it's a portal, like you said, and it's everybody's own journey. So you brought a gift. It's called the free 12 days of transformation, but tell us more about what's available there.
So it's a course. You basically sign in, create a little password. So you have lifetime access. And it's each day are embodiment practices. Some are simple, focus on this, practice this, and some are actual meditations with recordings that some include light language because I do light language and energy work in them with vibration and frequency. Some are just more simple and basic that you can listen to that are 10 to 15 minutes long on average. They include resources with either podcasts that I've done, interviews that I've done, articles that I've written around particular topics, and then reflective questions. You can start to access your own subconscious. And it's everything with from boundaries, your voice, your sexuality, your desire, your life force energy, your power, your sovereignty. It's diving into these aspects so that you can really start to uncover and create this new relationship. It's
Mm.
full of goodness. According to the people that have done it, they're just like, wow, it's so soulful and really, really helpful.
Yeah, it's you embody your expertise. And I'm
Mm.
so grateful that you've been here and created a pathway for people to explore more within themselves, connect to so much within them. And I think the 12 days of transformation would be absolutely the next best step for people. Wherever you're at, there will be links below. If you can't find them, maybe you're an email or YouTube or Apple, then you can always come reply wherever you're at, and we'll say 12. That will help us find it and give that link to you. And then your social media, Jessica, what is your social media handle so people can find you there?
Path to Sovereignty, which is the same as the website, thepathtosovereignty.com. You just
Okay.
have to spell it with the reign. Remember to reign over.
Perfect. Yes, sovereign.
So
That's easy. Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it. So, I mean, I could talk to you for 2 more hours for sure, but we'll let people go on their own journey. Before we close, is there any last things that you want to share?
I definitely think the 12 days is a good place to start because it'll give you a deeper inquiry into where are you currently, and it really guides you into where you want to go. Because sometimes we don't ask ourselves the questions of what do I actually want? And that we get to co create that. We get to choose, we get to make choices in our life that bring us into deeper union with our birthright of abundance, our birthright of love, of being seen and heard in relationship. And so many people just feel stuck in patterns that give them the exact opposite. And it's not true. But once you have the awareness, then you have the choice. And that's what's so beautiful about this level of work.
Yes, thank you. When I think of our mission, it's like elevating our lives. It all comes back to you and how you're operating. Are you in a pattern that you don't know of? Or are you truly connected to what you want? Or is it an old thing that you wanted and you're kind of in this in between phase, right? And I always think it's like, okay, if we're thinking about how do we elevate our lives, I think I think of it as kind of like ladders. What ladders am I going up in a good aligned way? I'm not like, oh, I got to climb this. Like, oh, I want to climb this. Are you climbing the right ladder for where you want to go? And so much of understanding, okay, where do I want to go? How can I optimize starts from connecting within you.
Okay.
So thank you again for bringing your wisdom, your expertise, your guidance, and opportunities to tap women into the greatest power that's within themselves. So thank you, and thank you all to everybody listening, and would love if you can reply to share what landed with you, or if you have a question, you can always ask. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Jessica, and everybody have a
Yeah.
wonderful day.